A lot of you probably know a basis, a little bit about this. Hopefully this will give you a little bit more. But I do have to say, this is kind of it's not possible to go over this in length in just an hour and a half. So maybe we can have a part two with some more in-depth study, because this kind of just scratches the surface of everything. Motivational interviewing was developed by William Miller, Teresa Moyers, and Stephen Rolnick, and I had the pleasure of seeing Dr. Miller at that same conference in California. And so this is actually what he presented there, what I gleaned from what he presented there. All right, so we're all pretty familiar with the stages of change, but we'll just go over a review of what those are. There's the pre-contemplated stage, which is avoidance, not seeing a problem behavior, not considering change. So these are most likely people that are either court-ordered or somebody else is making them come in, like a parent or a spouse is having them come in to therapy. Contemplation is more likely where somebody's likely to be, which is they're kind of ambivalent. They're acknowledging that there's a problem, but they're struggling with ambivalence. They're weighing out the pros and cons and the benefits and barriers to change. So on the one hand, they see that this is a problem, but on the other hand, they're still holding on to whatever that behavior is. Preparation, determination. If somebody's in that stage, they've decided to make a change, they're committed to that, they're taking steps and getting ready for the change. And then action, willpower, they're making the change and living the new behaviors, which is an all-consuming activity. And then maintenance, maintaining the behavior change that is now integrated in the person's life. So the key point with the stages of change is that it's very important to work with the person in the stage that they're at. And I know I have the tendency, and a lot of people probably have the tendency, because we feel like we need to be doing things immediately. And so, we're immediately offering suggestions or giving advice. Well, that's not going to do any good if somebody's in the pre-contemplative stage, and even somewhat in the contemplative stage. It's not going to be very helpful to tell them what they need to do to change if they haven't really firmly decided that they want to change. So the whole reason for this approach is starting where the person's at, and your goal is to try to get the person from whatever stage they're at to that next stage.
So do you think that might even keep them actually from moving forward if you're putting stuff out there sooner than later?
Yes, and we'll get into that, the reasons for that. Any questions about that with the stages of change? So, why don't people change? Why does this happen? I'm going to just throw out some scenarios here that are probably pretty familiar to you guys, and they are to me even with people that I know in my day-to-day life. One example, a person who's had a heart attack or has been told that they have some blockage. They're told that they need to make some changes, like it could be maybe they need to quit smoking, or they need to change their eating habits, or they need to exercise more, but yet the person is not doing those. Now, those are pretty serious things going on, that if something's not done, they could die, but yet change isn't made. Another example, somebody with type 2 diabetes, which, they're often told it leads to threats of kidney failure, losing limbs, blindness. Those are some of the complications that come out. And type 2 diabetes is something that can be reversed with changing your eating pattern, changing your exercise pattern. But yet there's a lot of people that don't make those changes that are possible to make. Okay, and then think of somebody who's been drinking. They often have hangovers, damaged relationships. They might have some DUIs, black out, do things, hear about things they did that they weren't aware of. You would think that all those things would be enough to make them change, but still no change. So, often knowing the consequences is not enough. And and that is because of that ambivalence that we talked about. There's obviously something pulling them towards that behavior. You know, they know all these negative consequences, but yet there's, at this point, the positives that they get from whatever that behavior is outweigh the negatives. Sorry about the quality of the slide. I actually screenshotted this from his thing to put it in because I didn't know how to create it. So these are the stages of change, and this kind of shows where most of the people are that are in each of those. Change. It was motivational interviewing was originally designed for working with people who are less ready to change, those in the pre-contemplative and contemplative. And he pointed out that, which could be most of the people you see, 80% of the people are starting out either in the pre-contemplative or contemplative, and then 20% are actually here, I'm ready to make this change. Tell me how. Okay, I wanted to talk a little bit more about ambivalence. Ambivalence is human nature, and I just put on here the definitions from the dictionary for what ambivalence is. The general definition, it's uncertainty or fluctuation, especially when caused by inability to make a choice or by a simultaneous desire to say or do two opposite or conflicting things. So it's that push and pull. And then the psychological definition, the coexistence within an individual of positive and negative feelings towards the same person, object, or action, simultaneously drawing him or her in opposite directions. So that's what makes change so hard. You've got the two opposing sides. Okay, so this goes to what Janice was saying. When we try to persuade somebody that they need to change, you know, if you go about it the direct approach of, you know, your doctor's told you that, you know, you could die from this, so you need to change, and let's talk about some things you can do to do that. What do you think happens when we try to persuade them of the negatives of their behaviors?
They dig in their heels.
They dig in their heels.
They
It's
push
actually,
back.
they're gonna push back. It actually pushes them more towards trying to convince you of the other side. So we as therapists tend to use, Dr. Miller calls this the writing reflex, where we tell them what they're doing wrong and what they need to do to change it. When you use the writing reflex with an ambivalent client, they most likely will argue the other point of view. So you actually send them to digging their heels in, pushing back, talking about the benefits of the other point of view. Resistance predicts lack of change, and the counselor style drives resistance. So we're going to do, I know some of you heard that there's role plays, and I'm nervous, but don't worry, because I hate role plays, and I did this at the conference, and it's not anything intimidating. So this is just a little practice to kind of show you the difference between using that writing reflex and then using more of the motivational and everything style. Okay, so what I'd like for you guys to do is to pick a partner. Hopefully we have an even number. Some of you,
We have an odd number.
we have an odd number, so,
You want it?
yeah, you and I can do that together. Okay. So here's your task. You're going to identify somebody as the speaker, and that person is going to talk about something that they want or need to change, have been thinking about changing, or know that you should change but haven't done yet. So just some examples could be you want to exercise more, eat healthier, get more sleep, or you want to decrease your amount of time you watch TV or on the computer. So it can be anything. Okay, it's just to kind of give you an idea to practice this. Now I'm going to leave up what the helper's role is. Okay, so this is, I have at the bottom, this is not motivational interviewing. You're going to find out what change the person's considering, explain why the person should want to make this change, give at least 3 good reasons to make the change, tell the person how it can be accomplished, emphasize how important it is to change, and tell the person to do it.
Like if you
And then
need
it's just-
resistance.
Repeat.
That's working so well.
All right, so any questions about that?
No.
All right, so I'll give you
My
like
partner
5
with you?
minutes.